So in this video, I want to shift gears a little bit to talk about feature checking on a different head, namely the T head. And the reason I want to do this is because this is a good example of one of the simplifications affected by the minimalist program. So let's consider what we've said about case within principles and parameters. Recall what we called the case filter. And the case filter just says that it's ungrammatical to have a determiner phrase that does not have case. So how does this case filter work within the principles and parameters approach? Well, first, let's take a passive example like he was seen. And so at the level of DS, omitting the dominating CP, TP, T-bar, T, null, VP, V-bar, V was, VP, V-bar, V, seen, and finally DP, he. So we've got this first case of movement, V to T movement, and more importantly, with regards to the case filter, we have movement of our determiner phrase he to the specifier of TP, and the reason that it has to move to the specifier of TP is in order to pick up nominative case, thus satisfying the case filter. So this D structure, after these two transformations, yields a surface structure that looks like, let's change colors here, our surface structure would look like he, which is in the specifier of TP, he, which is now nominative, and we have our tense node, which is contained, well, which is hosting was, so T plus was, and finally our verb phrase, seen, with a trace that's co-indexed with the pronoun. So you'll notice that on this approach, according to the case filter, we must assume that there are these two distinct levels of representation. And the reason we have to assume that there are these two distinct levels of representation is because we've said that first, lexical items are inserted according to their theta rules, and second, they must pick up case derivationally. So we have to have this level of surface structure if we are to maintain the uniformity of theta assignment as well as the case filter. Now, this sort of analysis, while it's empirically adequate, rests on two assumptions that we're going to challenge presently. So in P and P, we make the following two assumptions about case. First, determiner phrases do not come with case. And this is true at lexical insertion, when words are inserted into some sort of structure. And second, case is assigned derivationally. So this first assumption is that down here, he does not have case associated with it and is therefore a violation of the case filter, and so must, and here's the second assumption, move to the specifier of our tense phrase in order to pick up case and not violate the case filter. So we've made these two assumptions within the principles and parameters approach. But we don't have to make these assumptions. And within the minimalist program, MP, we ask whether or not these assumptions can be simplified. In particular, what happens if we assume first that DPs have some sort of inherent case, and second, case is not assigned but rather case is checked derivationally.